Okay. Well,
Okay.
Kamaria, thank you so much for being willing to sit down and have this conversation with me. I'm so excited. So once I asked you and you said you would be willing to do it, I've been really excited to sit down and have this conversation because as we've talked about this, I've loved hearing your stories. And over the last year or so, coming to the Moth and being able to hear multiple stories of yours, they're always just amazing and so entertaining. And so I'm really excited to hear more about you and about how you got into all this. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me. And thank
Yeah.
you for saying that. That's
Yeah,
very nice.
absolutely. So I'm excited. So I did want to start off and because like I said, I've heard a lot of your stories now and I wanted to hear from you whether it's a story that you remember from your childhood that kind of got you interested in stories or whatever that memory is for you that started it all off for you. How did you get into storytelling?
Storytelling. I'd have to say that growing up in the South, so I've been around stories and you're telling stories for a very long time. There's even the etiquette of, no, that's not a lie. You have to say you were telling a story.
Yeah.
So I think I've always been hearing stories, even in church. I like with revival, you're hearing stories, going to the library, reading about stories. But I would say this time I actually told a story and it worked to my benefit. I had to write a paper in fourth grade. And we were supposed to write an experience. It's supposed to be like a 5-paragraph essay that was supposed to be like demonstrative and showing all the things we learned throughout the year. And I did not write said paper. So as the class was, my period was coming up to you're supposed to stand and tell your paper and read your paper in front of everyone. I just ad-libbed. And so I got up there and did this whole story about going surfing, which I have never gone surfing in my life. But my teacher loved it. And she asked me to do it for the next class and the next class. And I got an A. And I was like, wow. It wasn't a reinforcer for me to be procrastinator, but I did in that moment really love standing up in front and telling a story to people. But that's probably where it started. But my really storytelling didn't start until, like you said, like a year ago. That's the first time I told a story in front of people on stage.
Do you have memories of family or friends like when you were little that you remember hearing a lot of stories being told around you as far as was it in your like kind of culture or in your family
Yeah,
DNA?
Yeah. I remember telling, okay, so yes, I remember around Thanksgiving and Christmas, my grandmother, her sisters would come home, and I remember them telling stories. And one story, so there was 3 of them, and there seemed to be this this understood not. There was a younger sibling. There's the 2 older sisters, and then the youngest baby that neither one of my grandmother nor her sister really wanted to be bothered with. But they were tasked with taking this younger sibling out in a carriage stroll. And the story was told that my oldest great aunt let the back of the carriage out and let her fall out and looked at my grandmother and said, "We're not going to have to do this again, I bet." And so I remember that story. But there's always people telling stories.
Yeah.
If you're at church, if you're, during holidays, that's probably just, again, it's always been around me, even if I didn't recognize it as somebody telling a story. Because sometimes somebody could just make something as innocuous as I went to the grocery store to pick up something and it'd be 30-minute long tale around it because they're telling you every bit of it. But I think that's just
Right.
a Southern thing.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally get that because that was me too. I mean, I grew up in the South, and I mean, I remember my dad and aunts and uncles, and I mean, everyone always had some tale about something, and even to this day, we laugh about it because when we go to visit my parents, my dad is always, I mean, once everybody's kind of gathered around, there's always a time when he goes into some long
Right.
story, something from his childhood or when he was in the Marines or
Yep.
some crazy thing that happened. And our girls are always like, he has so many stories.
Yes,
So,
yes.
I get it from that.
Even the ones
as
you've
well.
heard before, like if it's somebody who can
Yeah.
tell a good story, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter if you've heard it many times. Like it's still good.
Absolutely.
And they might add a little bit or detract from the last time they told it, but
Totally.
yeah.
Totally. 100%. Well, so it's funny because the next thing I wanted to ask you was, can you remember the time that you first performed or got up in front of someone and told a story? And I mean, obviously in fourth grade, that was kind of the
fourth grade,
thing
yes.
that you remembered. But since then, I mean, obviously you've done it a lot more now, and with the Moth and then with the events that we've done at Eddie's. But when you think about performing Can you tell a little something about just kind of what it feels like to be in front of an audience and to tell a very personal, a lot of times vulnerable, story about your life? What is that like for you?
So when I did the moth the first time, saw it with Emily Hacksaw. She was, she's a really good friend, and so I was just there to watch, and I was like, "That's awesome!" And it never really, something about it started to churn. Like, wow, maybe I could, but I wasn't really entertaining the thought. And Emily kept encouraging me. So the first night that I put my name in the hat, I was sat there the whole time hoping that they did not pull my name out of the hat. And then when I heard my name, my stomach was in a knot walking down the stairs. But once I actually was on the stage, I was still nervous, but you can't see everyone. And so it is difficult at first to tell the story, because I told a story about my mom leaving when I was younger. But something about not knowing anybody made it a little easier. It was almost like the bartender. Like, I don't know these people. And they're very receptive, and they're very encouraging. So I remember feeling very nervous, but very glad that I had done it. And I want to do things that I'm scared to do and push myself. So, but yes, I remember walking down and thinking, wow, I hope I don't fumble this.
Yeah. When was that? When was that first one? Was that this past year?
That was in December. It was December a year ago when I first did the first moth.
Wow. Okay. Because I was trying to think. That sounds vaguely familiar. So I'm wondering if we were there for that first one, because we started coming in like May, June of the previous year. So it might have been.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We probably were there. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. It was
awesome.
A year ago. Yep.
Well, when you think about, obviously, your first time getting on stage, you said you didn't really know anyone, so looking out on the crowd was kind of like easier because it took away some of those nerves. But now that you've been doing this for about a year and you've got, at least 5 or 6 stories under your belt, right? I mean, as far as at the Moth and our events, how many would you say you've done at this point?
I think it's at 6 now.
Yeah, okay.
Combined, yes.
And you've won a StorySLAM.
I did.
And you're going to be in a GrandSLAM, right?
Yes.
So, like, this is obviously, becoming more of a thing, which is cool. But now that you've gotten more involved, and now when you stand up, you're not so much looking out at strangers anymore, because you've gotten to know people. So how would you say that has changed things for you as far as just the community side of being involved?
I mean, it's just changed. It is wonderful. I am so grateful I won. I'm going to GrandSLAM, but I've also won in so many other ways, And my husband and I go now, and then we see you, and we see Al, we see Gina and everybody. And then, that's now the community, and that's people that we know. And then we went to Samuel's wedding, and these are all extensions from this storytelling community that opened up for us. So when I go now, I also want to watch, because now I want to see other people. I want to learn from other people and hear their stories and just be a part of that. And so all of it is just so welcoming and inviting, and that, no, I couldn't have thought a year ago when I first got on the stage, just telling the story, how that was going to open up so many other doors. It's opened up, like meeting you and at Eddie's Attic, but just friendships, like I'm here in your house. So
Right.
It's been incredible, and I just feel like they're so supportive there, and they are so encouraging for every single person, that as nervous as somebody might be, they make it so warm and welcoming.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, I've said this, I think in every interview I've had, everyone's experience has been the same, where they were so nervous, but then get up there. And even if you fumble and don't do a great job, the crowd is going to go wild. People are going to come up to you afterward, because again, there's something about storytelling and telling your story that really does open up other people to say, you know what, I've been there, or I've felt that emotion, or I've had that hardship. And so you can't help but feel connected once you're there.
I remember one night I told at the Moth, and no one else could make it, so I was there by myself. And these 3 women to the right, when they found out that I put my name in the hat, they were like, "Okay, if they call you, we got you. We're going to cheer for you." And they were super supportive, and I still see them now. So again, it's a very family atmosphere.
Yeah, I love it.
I do too.
It's so good, and again, not to sound monotonous, because I know people who watch these videos are like, he says this every time, but seriously, as soon as we started going, my daughter and I, every time we went back, it was like people were so welcoming and so happy to see you again. And it wasn't like this, you could tell they were genuine. It was
Yes.
sincere.
Yes.
And it really does feel like a family. And so that's
Yep.
been such just a great thing for me to feel that.
Yep.
But for my daughter to see, like, there are these groups of people, these pockets of people who love to be together, like in real life, in a
Yes.
room,
Yes.
experiencing these things. So it's been really cool. So I'm thankful to have
Yes.
met you and just to be a part of this journey and to be able to see,
It's been great.
yeah, you continue to blossom, and
Oh,
so
thanks.
it's been cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it.
I've got
So-
to be, yes, the Katina, all the people that I've met, I'm still kind of like in awe because they do so many wonderful things. So it's great just to be around it and learn from them also.
Absolutely. Well, this is just kind of, I'm throwing this in there as an extra, but since you've been coming around, is there one person or are there people that you can name right away who you've heard their story and have been like, man, like that's amazing. And then maybe you've gotten to meet or talk to them or get to know them where you're just,
I think Samuel,
Yeah.
because we went out with Samuel outside and then his wedding, but just listening to Samuel talk about being true to yourself and having some type of hierarchy, maybe from your past or from your childhood, and when he speaks about his faith. And for me, it's just it has to do with race a lot, or in Augusta, but it's still the thing. It's that voice inside your head that kind of keeps you from maybe living your truest self. And it worked out for me the same way for him. He said when he finally was, let himself be free of that a little bit, it actually came full circle. So his family was all there for his wedding, and that was beautiful. And so I loved hearing his story. And I don't know him that well, but I would say when I hear his stories, that's something that resonates with me. When Katina as well, talking about family, her delivery is more fluid and polished than mine, but I do love listening to her as well. But I love listening to all of them. Sometimes we heard, we were at the Moth and you're watching the scores kind of, and I wasn't in that night, so we're kind of seeing, and we're like, okay, this person, you're like looking at it almost in a pure way of sport, but then this other person, like it was a dark horse, like never been up there before and just completely told this great story about being in New York, and I think taking an edible by mistake, perhaps.
Yes.
But his delivery or whatever, I was like, wow, you've never gotten up there before? So that's really I love to see also, because it just reminds me it's anyone, because everybody has a story. So.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I love that too. Just, it feels like in the last 18 months, I've probably seen at least 3 people who showed up and the first time ever getting on stage won. And it's one of those things where, I mean, it seems like that would be very rare, but then at the same time, you see it happen, and then those people are like hooked because they had the experience, they faced their fears, they got there, they told their story, and the response was, unbelievable. So, and now you see those people
coming back again
more regularly, which is so cool. I love it.
And I love that it unites. I think that really, in a way, it's a universal uniting, because we all have a story, and so it doesn't matter where you're from or whatever, race or religion. If you're telling a story about your mom and this situation, or you played sports, or your dad, or whatever, or a romantic relationship, people can relate to that.
Totally, yeah. And I love how diverse the group at the Moth is, whether it's racially, like spiritually, religiously, the age gap. I mean, like you see, there's people from every single walk of life, which I think is such a beautiful thing to see, because again, in our own circles, if you don't ever get outside of those, you don't have an opportunity to hear what someone else has lived, and yet when you do, you realize, what, we're really not all that different. We're way more alike than we are different. And so I just feel like even in this current climate that we live in, it's like we need more of that, not less. And so
I think it's healing. I think it can heal things.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. So, if there were someone who was thinking about coming, either to the Moth or one of the other events in Atlanta, because there are a lot of other events too, if someone was thinking about it and they've heard stories, but they've never gotten on stage or never told their story, what encouragement or what would you say to them?
Do it.
Do it?
Do it. I would say do it and don't think about it too much.
Yeah.
Like the minute you have that feeling, like I wish, just do it. The next time, just put your name in the hat. As long as you like have something to the theme, don't overthink about it being polished. I would say time yourself, because that is kind of my worst fear. I don't know what if I would do if I get that countdown gong. But yes, be yourself. Make it an authentic story, but don't over rehearse. Just tell it. And if it's not if it's Atlanta Storytellers, or if you're invited, if it's something else, another venue, if it's poetry, whatever it is that's going to put yourself out there, I would say get up and do it, because you're not going to wish you didn't.
Yeah.
You're going to feel really good that you did, and you're going to push yourself further.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do scary things.
Yes, for sure. I mean, because that's how we're going to grow.
Yes.
And it's funny because even thinking about, my current job and working for a church and how at times I'm like, sometimes I don't want to tell people that, because I know there can be some baggage that comes with that and how people view, just because of all the different things that are going on. But one of the things that our pastor says regularly, and he still reminds us of this, is that we are terrible arbiters of our own growth. And just innately, we want to pull back and we want to try to do what we can to self-protect.
Right.
But yet, Ron, in his first interviews, he sat right in that chair where you are, and Ron said one of the things he's learned as he's gotten older is that if he doesn't intentionally put himself in hard situations, he won't grow. And so I think that's just such a huge lesson for all of us, that, like you said, I mean, you're challenging us, like, don't take the easy path.
Right. I think the older we are, especially because you become more closed off, you're just in your predictable day-to-day life. It's not like in your 20s when you have to be trying things. You're trying new jobs, you're meeting new people, you're putting different spaces. I mean, at some point you get into this very, groundhoggish kind of like day.
No, for sure.
And so I think you have to shake yourself up. Nobody else is going to come shake you up. You have to put yourself out there. And so I try to. And no, I'm nervous right now. But I want to be true to that feeling. So I would definitely say, and be true to who you are, because I understand about the religion. And I don't think people mind you mentioning your religion. I think it's when you are doing it from a judgmental point, which you aren't. Because I've thought about that too. When I mention, like, should I kind of, and I'm not going to do that, because that's who I am. That's my past, and that's that was my childhood. That's still like who I am to some extent. So
totally. I mean, we are who we are now because of all the stories and all the things that have shaped us up to this point. And that doesn't mean, we won't look back on that and redirect and change it, but that's part of the growth.
But I want to hear other people. I want to hear other people's religious story. I want to hear other people who I don't want to hear from people who just have the same exact story in life as I did. That's part of it. That's part of the magic.
For sure. I couldn't agree more. Well, I'm going to throw one more little thing in here just to see.
Okay, Josh.
Because we know each other now. I know. And being the nerves, I think being nervous, that's like, I'm nervous too. Like that's being alive. But one of the things I had written down as one of the options to end different times with people is there anything about your journey or the storytelling world that you would like to share with those? So like as you think about, because you've given advice now to somebody who might want to do it but haven't done it yet. You've been there where you were like, man, I want to do that. Right. Now that you've done it, and now that you've got, stories under your belt, you've won StorySLAM, and you've got some experience. Like, is there any part of that journey that you look back on now that you're like, man, that was really cool, or that was memorable, or that was terrifying? Or is there anything that just stands out to you
from
about
the whole
that
storytelling
journey? Yeah, just from your journey so far.
Well, I think after I won the StorySLAM, that was kind of surreal. And my husband was there, and so that was great experience that. But just, I think talking to Al And he's like, yeah, that was a great story. And Gina and them coming up to me, it just felt, I mean, it feels good.
Yeah.
But for them to connect to the story and all of it, that was just some story from Augusta. And then the next time I saw Alan, he's like, oh, there's the champ. And I've heard him say that to people. But, you know, it just, again, it's the encouragement. So I can't say there's just one time. I think probably most recently we talked about Samuel. We went to that wedding. And that was the first wedding that wasn't of a Christian faith that I've been to. And it's probably one of the most smallest organic outside wedding, but it's one of the most beautiful weddings. We talked about that, and that we were there with people from the Moth.
Yeah.
You know, that I saw Gina was there and Katina was there, and just so that I don't know the last time I've been to a wedding. So there's not one thing going forward. What's next? You know, we're going to be doing the storytelling in Atlanta Storytellers in January, and then the GrandSLAMs in June. And so we're going to go to December. I don't know, like, if I'll put my name in the hat or not. Again, I still want to listen and learn.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I can just say, I mean, it's been a real joy for me to get to know you and to see part of that process. Again, I think I might have been there that night you told your first story, but I've definitely seen at least 3 stories of yours at the Moth, and now one with us at Eddie's.
Yes.
And I can just say, you know, for me, that was a real, you know, a highlight for me, because it's always cool to now that we've had a couple of shows, when people agree to do it, I'm always so excited, because again, I know I get to hear another side of them and another story from them that I haven't heard yet. But also when you pair that with the music and just being able to hear, for me, just being able to hear you tell several stories and knowing that you're a great storyteller, and then for you to be willing to jump in and join us at Eddie's was just
that was incredible.
It was a blast. So
my kids, I mean, both of my kids were asking about it and asking about the band and like all the storytellers, and even you singing, they were like, oh, that's the person who like does the whole thing and he's singing too. And I was like, yeah, isn't that awesome?
It was such a blast.
It was great. It was great.
Well, Kamaria, thank you so much for being willing to, again, just sit down and share a little bit more about the process and the journey. And again, I'm just so excited to be a part of this community. And like you said, being at Samuel's wedding and getting together with people outside of the events and just getting to know each other has been just a real joy and treat for me. And so I appreciate your friendship and getting to know you and Andy. And so
thank you for coming and asking me out to your house and doing all this. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And we will see you very soon, I'm sure. And if you are watching, Kamaria will be performing again with us at Eddie's Attic in January. So we're looking forward to January 27th. Yes. And until then, we will have more videos coming out. But thank you for watching. And Kamaria, again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks.